So there's a lot to live up to. The valuation's big by any metric. The analyst community is expecting a lot, whether it's at the high end of expectations or even the whisper numbers above that. So how do you assess it?
I mean, look, I just continue to view it. It's the gold standard when it comes to AI use cases. Look, from all of our work, 70 to 80% of every AI use case, Palantir is ultimately involved with. And when you put in, like you're talking about in terms of the AI trade, pieces of the puzzle, I think this is going to be $1 trillion market cap in the next 2 to 3 years. So in terms of the actual quarter, U.S. commercial business, that continues to really be the story here because, as you start to look, this is going to be ultimately a $1-2 billion business. That's why I think valuation just over the next year, you miss what I view as really a transformational, almost historical growth.
I know, but that's a lot of hyperbole around a story that you're obviously positive on. I mean, I'm talking like, obviously the expectations are you need to see like the growth rate.
Yep.
Like how high does the growth rate have to be relative to where the valuation is, relative to a stock that's already up 170+% year to date? Like the new orders, like what kind of growth do they need to show there? So superlatives aside, what about the stuff that matters most?
I think U.S. commercial business is really what I view as it could be an 80, 90, ultimate 100% grower. And I think when you start just to put numbers around that, I mean, Scott, this one that was 25, 50 million that I believe now could be on a trajectory over the next 12 months to be $1 billion. So when you actually put that together, that means the valuation is one where you go from 2-3 billion of free cash flow, what could ultimately be 7-8 billion of free cash flow in the next few years. That's how you're going to justify the valuation. I think also it's what Karp talks about, not just on the government side, but on U.S. commercial.
Well, the commercial's 45% of their sales.
Yep.
At this point. Does that take the onus off of their reliance on government spending?
Yeah, I'd say 45% of revenue, 80 and 90% of the valuation. So when you think about government business, even though it's shut down, and obviously that could be a little dent, I actually think on the federal side, that's actually going to be a beat relative to all the high AI projects that we're seeing from a priority perspective. But what the street focuses on here, it's all about commercial. It's about this company essentially disrupting the whole software landscape, and that's essentially what Karp and Palantir have done.
It's so interesting too. Like it's a retail loved, almost a culty angle to this stock. How do you view that? The fact that retail is so highly engaged with this name.
Look, I think retail has been well ahead of institutional. I mean, I could go back. I mean, you've talked about the last few years. Institutional hated this name. Hated 20, despised it 50, yelling from the mountaintops at 100. I do think institutional has missed what maybe retail saw in terms of the commercial business, in terms of AIP, that was really transforming what Palantir is going to be over the coming years. I do think institutional now warming up more and more to it because the reality is that you cannot just dismiss what they're doing with essentially no direct sales force. And I think that just speaks to the demand that we're seeing.
You have a thought on that, Michael? This cohort, this now powerful, probably more powerful than ever, cohort in this market that supports stocks like this come heck or high water?
Right. I mean, it's this almost self-generating enthusiasm for a very select character of stock. So I pointed out for a couple of years now, Palantir and Robinhood were the same chart. And that just sort of shows you they're just drawing off the same kind of self-reinforcing mechanism of, hey, we're all here loving this stock. We still love it. We love it more because everybody loves it. And I'm not saying that that's without basis, because Robinhood's actual business has been growing extremely rapidly as well, as is Palantir. But, Dan, if you're right about $8 billion in free cash flow years down the road, it's a $500 billion market cap right now. That's a 1.6% free cash flow yield. That's Microsoft today when it's over-investing in CapEx on this year's numbers. So, I mean, that just gives you a sense of how much credit has been given to Palantir in advance, given the trajectory.
Now, look how much, you're giving them a ton of credit. You're talking about $1 trillion market cap.
Because, look, my view is that you're going to have $3 trillion that's going to be spent in the AI revolution. When you've got software use cases, 30-40% of that is going to ultimately be software. Now, how much does Palantir get versus Snowflake, versus Salesforce.com, versus Oracle? But again, it's pieces to the puzzle. If you look, not just on hyperscalers, but Palantir, they're a core piece on the AI use case. And I just think what Karp's doing is unlike anything we've ever seen in software.